President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy are in lobbying mode today as the debt limit deal looks set to be voted upon tomorrow, if it can make it past the Rules Committee in the House today.
The final vote for the debt ceiling potential deal is upon us. It appears that both the House Speaker McCarthy and U.S. President Biden have reached an agreement. The only question is, can they get the votes from Congress? If you hold Bitcoin, if you hold Ethereum, if you hold altcoins, this affects you. And while I shared with you the broad strokes a few days ago, the 2023 debt ceiling crisis altcoin daily video, link down below, let's go to Bloomberg for a 90-second update, and then we'll talk about what this means for crypto.
Anne-Marie, we know a deal was just step one. Now it's step two to get to the finish line. Walk us through what we should expect today and in the days that follow.
Well, today, Kaylee, you have House lawmakers coming back to Washington. Remember, they're supposed to be in their districts this week. A lot of them were home for Memorial Day parades and other events, and now they're all coming back because they have to vote on this bill. So, but you say correctly, the start of it, the first test is going to be this Rules Committee. There are 3 ultra conservatives in there. Do they vote to even allow this bill to hit the floor? That's going to be one of the first steps for Speaker McCarthy as he tries to navigate his members. They're also going to be he'll be meeting in person with his conference this evening, potentially a place for many of them to air some of their grievances with the bill and others to show their support for him. And then if it gets through the House with a vote set up potentially for tomorrow, then what we would have it work through the Senate. And in the Senate, while yes, the president has spoken about the fact that he's spoken to Mitch McConnell and he does think that, there is a path forward to this before June 5th, where the Treasury Secretary says that is the hardline deadline for the debt ceiling, there's going to be a number of senators who may want to make this a much more difficult, long, drawn-out process. You have the Senator Mike Lee, who wants deep spending cuts to raise the debt ceiling. You have Lindsey Graham over the weekend speaking to Shannon Bream on Fox News Sunday, talking about the fact that he does not think it does enough for defense spending when you look at a 3% raise when you factor in inflation. So any one of these senators could make this process much more cumbersome. So yes, there is a path, but it is not exactly going to be the easiest. And that is why you see Biden and McCarthy really trying to work the phones and coalesce the centrists in their party.
So just understand that while McCarthy and Biden have said yes to this deal, it's a big if Congress will accept the deal as is or choose to negotiate the finer points. If the House votes it through on Wednesday, then we go to the Senate. And then if we get to June 5th and no conclusion is made, that's when, around this time, is when the USA defaults. Like I said, this is just a game of chicken. Both parties want a resolution, yet the strength of all markets hangs in the balance. In these negotiations, something very bullish that happened for Bitcoin. The proposed 30% crypto mining tax has been dropped in the US debt ceiling deal. The mainstream media has been silent on this. I will cover it. I will keep you informed. Because remember, in early May, the White House suggested a tax on electricity used by cryptocurrency miners called the Digital Assets Mining Energy DAME Excise Act. The proposal aimed to impose a 10% tax on miners' electricity usage from 2024 in the US, gradually escalating to 30% by 2026. This would obviously kill crypto mining innovation, push it offshores for the US. They cite a negative impact on the environment, an old talking point on why they were choosing to focus on miners. But they also estimated that the DAME Act would bring over $3.5 billion in revenue over the next 10 years as they punish Bitcoin mining. Well, happy days, this has been taken out of the latest deal. As reported by Representative Davidson, he says, yes, one of the victories is blocking the proposed taxes, specifically the DAME tax proposal. And that's not to say that we won't see pullbacks, we won't see sharp 30% dips on any given day in crypto. Always very possible. But looking at this update of the realized hodl waves chart, the trend change is very clear. The Bitcoin realized hodl waves show beautifully just how early we are in the cycle. The curve is starting to shift, right? Like right here. The curve is starting to shift as we leave the cycle bottom in the past and bring on newer hodlers. A powerful bull run lies ahead if you can wait for it. Bearish sentiment cannot survive. And just to give you an analysis on what this chart means, The colors run from short-term hodlers, meaning 24 hours, 1 week, 1 month, etc., shorter-term hodlers, to longer-term, these darker greens, blues, over 5, over 7 years. And by the way, these do not count Satoshi's coins. At least they put very, very weight into those coins. Here is a great 90-second explanation from Glassnode on how this works.
So here we are in Glassnode Studio. We're looking at the realized cap hodl waves. Now, let's just start by understanding how this particular metric differs to the standard hodl waves, which you may have seen. So on the left-hand axis, which is what's mapping onto the color bands, you can see that we're going from 0 to 100%. Now, on the standard hodl waves, that's as a proportion of the BTC supply. So as you can imagine, Satoshi's coins, which is around 1 million BTC, in terms of that relative to the 18.9 that have been mined, it's a fairly substantial chunk. Now, the challenge is that Satoshi's coins have no price. When they were mined, there was no value for Bitcoin. So therefore, how much economic weight do they really carry? And the answer is actually not a great deal. Now, if they were spent and revalued at today's prices, of course, they would come back to life and they would have a great economic value, but they would no longer be 10-year-old plus coins, which we have in the purple band here. They would become these 24-hour coins, which is the dark red. So what you'll see is that the hodl wave bands go from red all the way up to these darker greens and purples, which are the older coins, whereas the warmer colors are younger. So on that same case study as Satoshi, you can see that 10-year-old coins, which there are many of them, there's lots of lost, unspent miner coins, there's Satoshi's coins, there's millions of coins that are over 10 years old that simply haven't moved. And yet they don't carry much economic weight. So in the standard hodl wave bands, you will see a large purple blocks at the top here, which is showing in terms of BTC supply that Satoshi's coins are quite significant. However, in terms of the amount of value that they stored, in terms of the price when they were mined or the price when a coin was last spent on chain, that's what the realized cap hodl wave is doing. It's capturing the USD denominated wealth that is stored in those particular coins.
Support this content, like these charts, and what we are seeing, the beginning of a new cycle curve. At the bottom of these curves, as we make the turn, that's when long-term hodlers, more of the greens, the blues, etc., that's when long-term hodlers dominate at cycle lows, telling us, showing us there is a price point. There is a certain amount of hodlers long-term that simply believe in Bitcoin too much and they will not sell. And that's not to say maybe we couldn't have another scare, maybe we dip back down again. But again, this is a signal to me that we're a lot closer to the bottom for Bitcoin than a top. By the way, major announcement, my brother and I are speaking at Lockdown Portugal, a crypto conference. You can see our pictures directly on the website, us and other awesome speakers, and grab your tickets, link down below, and use code AltcoinDaily50 for 50% off your ticket just for the Altcoin Daily audience. Link down below. See you tomorrow.